Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for sticking put and sticking in my side of the masterclasses. We have the other ones recorded, so you're not going to miss out on the other two. You'll be able to catch those afterwards. But in this one, we're going to talk about automation. We're going to talk about the OMS. And yeah, let's kick off with this masterclass. My name is Chris. I have been working at Linnworks for about 13 years. I'm a product manager at Linnworks, which means it's my job to figure out what we should be building and when we should be building it. And yeah, over this last 13 years, it's been really great to see the product grow. It's been great to see customers grow, your businesses grow, and the event grow as well. It's been amazing to see. So thanks a lot for sticking put and having a look at this with me. Let's go through what we're going to be covering today. So first up, we want to just align ourselves so we're all understanding what we mean by an OMS and automating our OMS. What does a good automated order management system mean? We want to look at why you guys are looking into automation more, why we are looking into automation more, why we always are, and where we're investing. We want to look at what everyone is already automating, hopefully share some stories. Maybe there are some things you can pick up here that you can see other people doing that you might want to replicate. And we also want to see where you can automate more. So looking at the kinds of things that we're looking into, the kinds of things that we are experimenting with, the new stuff that we're working on that hopefully you'll be able to go back to your businesses and implement, and why you'd want to do that. So as Diana was saying in the talk before this one, we are an automation company. We automate as much as possible. We're not a robotics company, so we're not going to be picking and packing things. People use our software. What we're really automating is, to start with, we're automating data, right? So we're moving information around in between warehouses, in between marketplaces, in between Linnworks and couriers. We're doing a lot of shifting of data. We're also automating decisions, and that's the bit that I'm looking into most recently with my team, is understanding what kind of decisions your warehouse is making, what kind of decisions your staff are making, should they be making those decisions, and how can we automate those? Okay, so what does a well-automated OMS look like? To start off with, what I've got on here, it collects your orders. Pretty simple, but we want to get everything all in the same place. We want as much information about these orders all in the same place. And then we want to understand those orders. So we want to look at everything that we can get out of these marketplaces, out of these websites about these orders. We want to know who's purchased from you, when, where it's going, what they've bought, how much it cost you to buy that stock in the first place, how long it took to ship. All of that information we need to try and get. We want to really analyze this data that we're getting out of these platforms. We want to help prepare these orders. We want to make sure that Linnworks can do as much as possible for your staff so that when they come in the morning, a lot of those decisions that they would otherwise have had to have made have already been made, so they can get right into the picking, the packing, the printing, and the processing. So we want to be able to do as much of that stuff up front and as automated as possible. So as soon as Linnworks receives the order, we check it out and we do what we can with it before it's ready to be dispatched. And the next big thing as well, something that's top of mind for me at the minute, is we want to be able to share all of that data that we've learned, right? Everything that we've learned about how your business operates, everything about what your staff is doing, what you're automating, what you're not automating, and we want to be able to give that information back to you so that you are understanding more about how your warehouse is working, how your order fulfillment is working, how your printing, your picking and packing is working, so that we can get the information to you as quick as possible. So just a brief recap on why we're doing all of this, why you guys are automating as much as possible, why we're trying to help you do that. First up, it saves time. We've got a stat here, 40% of retailers found repetitive work to be a top frustration. That was from that SOCO report that Diana mentioned earlier. Once again, we're just trying to do as much as possible on our end so that you're not wasting time picking the right courier, assigning the order to the right fulfillment service, things like that. We want to prevent errors. Right, so we all know that there's probably 1 or 2, 3 people in your business that have been in that warehouse for years, and they can look at a package from a mile off and know exactly who's shipping that and what box it needs to go in and things like that. But people still make mistakes, and ideally we will try and limit those amount of mistakes by automating as much as we can. We've also noticed that the more automated these decisions are, the more automated the order fulfillment, the more confident sellers are in then expanding to other marketplaces, other websites, right? So there's A lot of businesses that I speak to have said, we want to try out Temu, we want to try and list somewhere else. And because we know that we can manage a Linnworks order, we're more confident that we're then able to expand and grow our business and grow our sales because we've really understood how we're going to pick and pack and process those, right? So you can more confidently expand to other marketplaces, knowing that you have that foundation, that automated foundation, so that when those orders come in, Linnworks knows what to do with them, and your staff know how to deal with them as well. The last one we've got on here is that we want to make sure that customers are happy, right? So at the end of the day, fewer errors, faster shipments, getting it out of the door quicker with fewer mistakes is going to mean more happy customers, more return customers, more repeat customers as well. So these are really the main reasons as to why Linnworks users are trying to automate more and why we're trying to help them do that. And we're going to look at ways we're doing that here as well. But just another quick plug of this SOCO report that Diana mentioned earlier. Definitely have a look at that. All of the stats that we pulled out of here as well are all going to be in there, so there's a lot more to dig into there as well. Okay, so let's have a look at what retailers are already automating. Some of you might be familiar with this, some of you might be doing it already. Top one, order routing. So whether that is you've got more than one location that you're fulfilling things from. Maybe you've got one location, but you have other suppliers or other fulfillment partners that are fulfilling orders for you. We want Linnworks to be able to look at your orders and understand this is the person that should be responsible for fulfilling this order, and then move the order to that location. Identifying and sorting, another pretty simple one, but we want to be able to, once again, understand these orders and flag anything that might be wrong with them. Maybe sort them into views or buckets, folders, so that we can understand those orders better. Assigning shipping, another huge one, another one that we do a lot of and is a very popular use case for the Rules Engine and for Linnworks as a whole, is being able to look at an order and understand who should be shipping this. And we've done quite a lot of work in that recently, so we'll show off a bit more of that in this talk as well. Packaging, another area, making sure we understand which items belong in which box and try and help your pickers and packers understand that as well. Dispatch notes, so that's both to the channel but also to your end buyers to let them know that this order is ready, has been fulfilled, that we're done with it, that we've done everything we can, we've picked, we've packed, we've printed, we're waiting for the courier to come and pick it up. Once again, it's giving that information to the end buyer as well so that they're confident that you guys have done your job and that the order is ready to be fulfilled. We all get those emails when we buy things online as well. Being able to do that would be great. And then any other custom actions. We've been taking a lot of look into these recently because anything that the Rules Engine can't do, users end up finding ways to automate that, whether that be through custom code, macros, working with our partners and other developers. And we've taken a look at what these sort of custom jobs are doing to see if we can emulate some of that in Linnworks as well. So the Rules Engine, just a really quick recap for anyone that isn't familiar with it and how that works. It looks at an order. When an order comes in, we look at it. So long as it's a paid order that's ready to be worked on, we have a look at that order. We check a set of conditions, so if this, right, we're checking where the order's going, how much the buyer's paid, what items are in the order, things like that. And then we perform actions against that order. And it's these actions that we really want to dive into recently and have been working on the past few months. Something to keep in mind with the Rules Engine, the reason why we built it in the first place, the reason why it is so popular, is firstly it's visual. Right? You don't need to understand any code to be able to work with this. We don't need to talk to developers. You don't have to hire in someone else to understand how to do this. It's all very easy to use, very visual. You don't need to write any code. But also it's yours. We see a lot of custom work can be a bit daunting if someone's gone and written it for you, written a macro or something like that. Because if you want it changed, you're relying on someone else. So it's something that is doing something for you, and if you really want to quickly adapt, you want to change a courier around, you want to change some packaging, something like that, you want to make sure that you're in control of that so you can change it on your terms, so that when something does happen and you want to quickly pivot, quickly make a change, you can do that because you understand how the automation works because you set it up in the first place. Okay, so just a little bit of audience participation here. If you could put your hands up if you don't have any rules in Linnworks at all and you're not using the Rules Engine. No one. Perfect. Great. Anyone know how many rules they've got? Maybe 1 to 3 rules. Maybe put your hand up if you've only got that many. No more? 4 to 7? Yeah, a couple of mostly hands there. 8+ rules, more than 8 rules. Nearly everybody, great. Okay, so you're in the right place because the rules engine is about to be able to do a lot more, and I'm very excited to show you what that is. Okay, so the impact of the rules engine, just a few more stats before we dive into the actual demo of this. Over 16,000 rules are live in Linnworks right now, so there's a couple of different metrics that we use when we try and understand how valuable the rules engine is, and just the amount of enabled active rules is one of them. That's how many we currently have in the system across everyone that's using Linnworks. A 31% increase of rules decisions against a non-peak period, so we're seeing more decisions being made. That's another metric that we use when we look at how valuable the rules engine is every time it decides to do something, we track that as a decision so we can see how many decisions are being made. 2.1 million daily decisions automated during peak period in 2024, and 47 million decisions made in November 2024 alone. So these are the kinds of numbers that we want to see grow. Right? We want to see get higher. We want to be able to be making more decisions on your behalf via the rules engine and via other things that we've got inside Linnworks. And this is really the metric that we're using to understand how valuable the rules engine is. So let's have a look at some of the new things that we'd like the rules engine to do. Firstly, we've got setting dispatch dates of orders. So being able to look at an order, understand everything it already understands, but then set the date in which that order should be dispatched relative to the receive date of the order. So that is something we can dive into a little bit more today. Adding items and adding services to the orders as well. So maybe we've had a lot of people in the past asking for things like, add a free gift to this order if they order over a certain amount, or if they buy a particular product or something like that. Or maybe free things, services like gift wrapping and things like that. And then also adding notes to orders as well, which users use for a variety of different reasons, whether that be an internal note that's only for your team or an external note that's meant to be shown to the buyer. These are all things that when we look at users that come to us and ask, can the rules engine do this? And we say, no, but we can write a macro that will do it, or further customization. These are the most popular customizations that users request, right? So we've had a look at, these are the kinds of things that people are sort of using the rules engine for, but because the rules engine can't do it, they need to rely on some extra code to do it for them. So all of these are coming soon, but I just want to quickly dive into an example of how one will work, so that you can maybe tell me if it's something that you think you're going to use. So we've got an example here of a hypothetical seller, and on their website they offer free shipping that's usually dispatched within 2 to 3 days. However, for an extra cost, they can buy next day dispatch. But if they spend even more, and they order before a certain cutoff point, they get same-day dispatch. So I'm confident that my warehouse can fulfill these orders so long as they are placed before a certain time. And I just want to have a look at how we would now use the rules engine to figure that out and to automate that decision-making. So first up, we're going to start with a version of the rules engine here, and we're just going to check if the order was placed before 2 p.m. Right, that's a fairly simple check that the rules engine can already do. You can set up a condition to say, if this order was placed before 2 p.m., then do something else. That other thing would be to check to see if they've paid for same-day dispatch, because if they've ordered before 2 p.m. and they have paid that £8 for next-day dispatch, then we can set that next-day dispatch. Same-day dispatch. And then we set that action for dispatch today. Now, what does that look like? These are the new actions that we've been working on. We've got here set dispatch date relative to the receive date. I've got 2 options to choose from there. How many days relative to the receive date do I want to set this dispatch date? I've set 0 days there because I want it to be the same day dispatch. And then crucially setting the dispatch time as well to 4 p.m. because that's when I know is the cutoff for my courier to arrive at my warehouse and pick up all of my packages. So that's something that I've set up in the rules engine here using that new interface so that this is automated as much as possible. This is a decision that now Linnworks is making on your behalf. A few more things we need to check though. What if they place before 2 p.m. but they paid for next day shipping, not same day shipping? Then we dispatch it tomorrow instead of today. So all we do is change that 0 to a 1 there to say that, okay, now I want to set the dispatch date to the day after the order was received, still at the same time. And finally, the last check there, if they have ordered before this special cutoff time, but they have not paid enough for next day or same day shipping, then we want to change that 1 to a 3 to say that we're now dispatching it up to 3 days before. And why is this important? That's because now your users, your pickers and packers, can use the open orders screen or use a view to filter on only the orders that need to be received today. We get a lot of users that are doing pre-orders that don't have dispatch dates set up properly at all. And they're getting a lot of orders in, and their staff can't focus on just the ones that they need to fulfill today. We've had a lot of users as well ask to be able to essentially work down to 0. So they come in the morning, they know they have this many orders that they need to fulfill. And bar some that might come in for same-day dispatch, they know they have that number that they want to work down to 0. But we haven't received the accurate dispatch by date from the website or the marketplace. Now we can set that in Linnworks as well, so that you can work down, you can filter your orders to only focus on the ones that need to be dispatched today. Just a few clear up things from this rule as well. If they've overpaid for same day, so if they have ordered, they've not placed before 2 p.m., they've placed after 2 p.m., but they have paid for the extra for the same day shipping, we need to mark that somehow because we don't want them paying for more for shipping and not getting it. So we're going to add those to a folder or add an identifier to the order to make sure that my staff can identify that those are orders that need to be looked at. And then a few more checks there just to tidy up. A next day check, dispatch tomorrow, free shipping check, dispatch within 3 days. The same thing that we're doing here on this side. But we want to make sure that we're setting those dispatch dates and those dispatch times as accurately as possible and as automatically as possible so that we don't have to do any of that work. Another thing I wanted to look at, so similar to the Rules Engine, but kind of an adjacent feature that we've been talking a lot about in my one-to-one sessions over at Linn Academy today and yesterday, is the fulfillment network feature. So I don't know if anyone's used that or had a look at it yet, but it is fairly new. We understood that a lot of users realize that Linnworks knows my stock levels, right? It knows that in this warehouse, maybe in my third-party fulfillment center, maybe in my other warehouse, my international warehouse, how much stock is in that warehouse. And it also knows how much I've sold, right? So it can put 2 and 2 together, and it should be able to figure out who should be fulfilling this order based on the stock I have, right? Stock level routing. So if I provide the priority of those locations, if I tell Linnworks that I would rather ship it from here, but if I can't, then ship it from here, and you can't because there isn't enough stock, then Linnworks should be able to figure out exactly where the order should be fulfilled from. We've had users use this in more traditional ways, as you can imagine. Just check to see if I can fulfill it, and if not, check this supplier, and if not, check this supplier. We've had users use this in less typical ways as well, right? So I was speaking to a user a couple of months ago selling art supplies out of Wales. And they were telling me about a time when they had some bad weather and didn't get a lot of staff in. So they were severely understaffed that day. And usually they would try and fulfill as much as they could by themselves. But in the cases where they couldn't fulfill anything, they would then use Amazon FBA to fulfill the remaining products. But for this specific day, they needed to flip that completely on its head. So they set up a network of locations, which included the FBA one at the top. That was the one that was prioritized. So that they came in the morning, they knew they were going to have reduced staff, they selected all of their orders, and they just sent them to this network that included the FBA location. So that Linnworks went through each order to check, can FBA fulfill this? Because if it can, great, I'm going to route this to FBA. They can deal with this because I have a few amount of staff in my warehouse. All the orders start disappearing off their open order screen because they're going to FBA to be fulfilled. What you're left with are the dregs that FBA can't fulfill, that you now have to fulfill in your own warehouse. But because they had reduced amount of staff, that is, for that day, what they needed to work on. And once again, if this was something that was coded, if this was something that you asked the developer to create for you, you're not going to be able to react that quickly, or at least likely you wouldn't. You'd have to call someone, you'd have to ask them to make a change to this logic. But these guys had this fulfillment network feature, they understood how it works, they set it up in the first place. So they're in control of that routing, they're in control of the stock level routing, they understand how to make that change if they need to quickly should something like that arise. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is some of the other things that we'll be working on in the future, or in the near future, and some of these things Diana mentioned as well. But the first one here, automatically setting dispatch dates based on the release date of the item itself. So I don't know if anyone here works with pre-orders, but that's another area of e-commerce that we can probably be better at managing, right, is pre-order stock. As I mentioned earlier, we've got a lot of sellers with high order volumes, and they do have a lot of orders coming into Linnworks, but not a lot of them have to go out that day. They are pulling in orders that need to be fulfilled next month, 2 months away, 3 months away. And they are coming into Linnworks, and they need them to be in there because they need to know how many they need to fulfill, but they don't have to fulfill them right away. So we need to kind of manage those better. And what we're looking at now is a way to actually add that release date to the product itself, so that Linnworks is aware that this order is not ready to be dispatched yet, because the item that the person has ordered has not been released yet. So we need to wait, and we need to hold on to those orders, and we need to shift them somewhere else so that they're not getting in the way of my staff that are focused on the orders that have to be dispatched today. So that's a little interplay there between the open order screen, between the OMS and the IMS that we need to get right. The next one, Diana also mentioned, the increased order volume support. Because again, a lot of those sellers, but other sellers that don't even do pre-orders, are still pumping through more and more orders through Linnworks. And that's something we want to see, right? We mentioned earlier that if you're confident in fulfilling all of these orders, then you're going to want to get more. You're going to want to expand to different areas of e-commerce. You're going to want to sell on more platforms. You're going to want to experiment with different things. And you need to be confident that if you do expand your order volumes, that Linnworks is going to be able to support that mostly via the open orders screen, right? But we do have a lot of conversations with sellers where they say, look, I'd like to come in tomorrow morning, and we've doubled the amount of orders that we usually get on a Thursday morning. But they also worry that how are my staff going to cope with that? How is the system going to work with that? So we're really working hard now to essentially rebuild the back end of the open order screen to support more orders. We're aiming for somewhere between the 100 and 200,000 order mark there, but we want to be able to stream those orders in as and when you get them, so it's a little more intelligent way of loading these orders. Identifying missed opportunities for automation. This is another really interesting one on my plate and on my team's plate at the minute. Is we know a lot about what your staff are doing with the system. Didn't mean for that to sound creepy, but we do see, who's doing what, who's printing labels, who's processing orders, when they're doing it, how often they're doing it, and a lot of decisions that they're making, right? If they're manually moving orders to a different location, if they're manually assigning couriers, if they're manually moving orders to a folder, or printing pick lists or things like that. If we can see that that's happening, what we should be able to do is understand that some of these things could be automated. And if everybody had sort of a CSM on their side, then they'd be able to have that conversation and understand, look, we've noticed that your staff are doing a bunch of things that we think could be automated. Do you want to learn more about that? This is something that Linnworks should be doing, being able to analyze that's what your users are using Linnworks for and offer a better solution for this, right? So we know what the rules engine can do. What we want to do is really double down on understanding, okay, we just noticed that a particular user grabbed a bunch of orders that are going to Germany and assigned Deutsche Post to them. That is something that the rules engine can do. If you didn't know that that was something the rules engine can do or something that was automated, maybe that staff member didn't know. We want to be able to tell you that that happened so that then you can go and action that and make that change, maybe set up a rule so that no one has to do that anymore. So that you don't waste time doing that anymore, and so that no one accidentally makes mistakes whilst doing that, because it's just another aspect of us preparing these orders ready for when they need to be fulfilled. And finally, even more rules engine actions. So if anyone wants to meet up after this because they've got an idea for something they think the rules engine should be able to do, right? It's something we can already do manually. It's something that the rules engine already understands, but you have an idea for something else that the rules engine should be able to do that it isn't currently doing, then definitely let me know. I'll be walking around outside, and we can start making a plan for adding more actions to the rules engine, because I'm really interested in that in the minute. Okay, so any questions? If we've got time, then definitely let me know. I don't know if anyone's been adding any to the Q&A, but if anyone wants to put their hand up and ask a question, definitely. But apart from that, there'll be lunch at, I believe, 12, so we'll be ready for that. Was there any questions about the rules engine, about automation, any ideas for anything else you would want Linnworks to automate? We got a question over at the back, yep.
It's to do with Amazon custom products and the information that comes through. When it comes through Linnworks, it's just too much information that you can't decipher. And when you're trying to print on demand, the information is not very useful. So at the moment, we're using APIs, pulling information from somewhere else. Is there going to be any way to use automation to decipher some of that information that's in there and then make it more legible and useful somewhere else?
Yeah, that is a really interesting one. We've had a look at that quite a bit because, as you said, there's a lot of stuff that comes through, and we need to understand what part of that is important for your business and your staff and which part isn't. So there may be some automation we can do there where we can let you assign sort of tags to certain things. Definitely something we can have more of a conversation about, but it is something we've looked at recently as well, because as Diana said, this is a different kind of order that we need to manage better. Right? We have this concept back at the office of slow orders and fast orders. A fast order is something that's very easy for us just to get out the door straight away. But we've noticed that as businesses grow, they start experimenting with different kinds of orders. Amazon Custom is going to be one of those, where it's a bit of a slower order, right? We need to manage it a little differently, and Amazon Custom is a big part of that. So yeah, we'll definitely have a chat after this, but it's something we need to pick apart, because as you said, there's a lot of information in that Amazon Custom data that comes back through Amazon. A lot of it you don't need, a lot of it we don't need, but we don't know which bits you need. So we need to figure that out. And yeah, some way through the rules engine, through tags, is going to be a good way of doing that. Oh, another question over here.
Thanks. So my question's not specifically about the automation, but you're saying that we can set delivery dates automatically, but at the moment we can't even go into an order to set a delivery date. Is that going to change?
Yes, so what we've added recently, so in the past few weeks, is the ability to right-click an order manually and set the dispatch date. So you can do that now, that's fairly recent. You still can't go into the order and do it, but you can from the open order screen right-click one or a bunch of orders and set the dispatch date. The ability to set the dispatch date via the rules engine actually went live today. So if there is more automated ways you want to do that, that is out today as well. I'm hoping that the other actions will be available in the next week, maybe 2 weeks. We've got a team back home at the office working through those other ones right now. Any other questions? No? All good. Okay, we'll leave it there then. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for seeing the talk. All the other talks will be available.